me?
Hi, Claire.
Hiya. I'm just trying to pull the figures up on the system at the moment. So if you, sorry, if you wouldn't mind just repeating the question, I'll make a note, and then whilst the next person's asking a question, I'll try and pull it together for you.
Yeah, it's just basically, obviously, with reporting that there's a loss in revenue of 1.73 million, we'd like to see the operational costs alongside that for the same period. I think it matters.
Okay. All right. Give me a few minutes.
Okay, so my next question for Councillor Bowen, please, is as we've an estimated subsidy of 361,000 for 2021 at Fleetwood, does this include the cost of the boiler replacement earlier in the year?
No, that's just going forward. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But it wasn't really shut for very long. We didn't really lose very much money when those boilers were being mended. But unlike the G5 pitches in Thornton, when they had to be shut for several months due to health and safety issues, we didn't lose very much income at all when the boilers were being fixed.
Thank you. The next question, just given the percentages that you gave us with, again, this is about the timings for getting to leisure centres. Given the percentages you gave us, could we possibly get the percentage, let's say, for example, within the 20-minute travel distance, should we have been proposing to open Fleetwood instead of Garstang? Could we have a look at all the percentages is basically what I'm asking. You've given us a few. Can we actually get to see them all, please?
But the decision to open Garstang wasn't about the percentages of who can get to the leisure centres and the swimming pool. It was about the cheapest option to open it to save money so that we can look at going forward if it's going to be a viable operation to open the others. How successful it is to keep the public in there.
I do understand that, Councillor Bowen, but at the end of the day, Fleetwood has the capacity to accommodate more swimmers than Garstang or Paulton. And I think, obviously, with distancing guidelines in place, that would be an advantage to have more people swimming at a certain time in one place rather than less in a smaller place.
At the end of the day, Fleetwood is on a peninsula, and you're not going to get people from over the eastern side of the borough going to Fleetwood to swim. It's just not practical.
I'm sure we can see that if we can see all the percentages, though.
What I've said is we weren't looking at that. What we were looking at, how can we get the best figures? I mean, if we just, like Councillor Vincent said, if we just opened Fleetwood and the figures were low, then there wouldn't be an argument. But because we've opened the best one and we're going to get the best figures possible, then we can move forward, hopefully. But it all depends on how many people, how many schools, clubs, etc. are going to use the facility. It's not about travel arrangements.
I'd just like to say before I wait for Claire's response that Wyre may not have a statutory duty to provide swimming pools for school curriculum, but it certainly has a moral one, and I think we're missing that point.
Can I just add to that if anybody's got a moral duty to pay, it's the county council. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't accept that. I think that when we talk, I've just said, David, that for the last 20 years we've supported 3 pools in this area, and that is, if you look across Lancashire, that's an awful lot of pools.
I'm not disputing that, Councillor Vincent.
Very few others don't have that many, and we've broken our necks to make sure that provision is there.
Councillor Matthew Vincent, have you a question?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Like Councillor Longton, I have a couple of questions to ask of the portfolio holders, but I'll keep it brief and ask for quick responses if that's okay. So basically, I know, listening to everything tonight, Councillor Fail was saying we all want the pools to open. Obviously, we do, and I hope that everybody on all sides of the table here are hoping that the ultimate goal is to try, if possible, to ensure that all of our leisure centres are reopening. But having listened to it, obviously there's financial implications. I mean, Councillor Vincent was talking about figures that Councillor O'Neill was saying were sort of scary figures, which they absolutely are. We're talking about significant losses and protecting more than just the swim pools, but protecting the residents of Wyre. So obviously this is a financial decision. So in light of that, I would just like the portfolio holders to confirm my understanding of the facts so that we know exactly what we're talking about here. So firstly, if the portfolios can confirm that the council has already invested £1 million in leisure centres during the pandemic. Is that accurate?
In round figures, that's right.
Okay. And that the cost of reopening the swim pools, I know Councillor Beaver said 30,000. I know that's been bandied about on social media, but that actually was the £300,000 cost that will be incurred in the next financial year. So the true cost that we're talking about would actually be 330,000 in addition to the 1 million roughly that's already been spent. Can we agree that that's an established fact as well?
If you're just talking about pools, yes, it's more if you're talking about the dry centres as well.
Right, okay. So considering as well this is a trial period until March, the Lancashire leaders have already asked the government for additional Lancashire specific funding. Now, assuming we don't get that, if the application for access to the national pot is accepted, then substantial monies will be granted, hopefully. In that situation, would we be looking at reopening all the centres across Wyre?
I think that would depend upon how much we get. So yeah, I mean, if we got sufficient monies from government to recover a significant amount of the losses that we've sustained, then yeah, I think that would happen. If we don't get that, then I think we've got to have a conversation. Not only this, everybody's focusing on pools, and it's obvious from the emails that I've had and from the flack that's been going around that people seem to value the pools more than people value the gyms that we offer. Certainly from the volume of traffic that we've had on it, that would appear to be the case. So I think when we do have the conversation, or if we have that conversation, that we have to stem some of these losses. But because don't forget that you as an O&S committee will have seen for the last 2 years reports that the usage of the gyms has been dropping away, and that they've been finding it really difficult to compete with some of the very low cost gyms, something that's been alluded to before. And I think we need to have a debate, and some of that will probably involve O&S, I suspect, about how we should approach it in future, whether we should have a cut price offer ourselves, whether we should compete on price against operators who are very keen and cut right to the bone and do it on a very, very low cost basis, whether we should have all the dry gyms around the place that we have now, because there are other gyms available. And the point was made about private provision relating to pools. Well, the same applies to gyms. If we think that there are enough gyms and they're good enough and cheap enough, do we even want to compete with them? All of that is on the table, or it may be on the table for future discussion. So we're going to have to look at all of that, I think. But that's for another day. We're talking about the short term, and in the short term, we want to get as much provision back in play as we possibly can, at the lowest cost we possibly can, and as quickly as we possibly can. And that's all I can say is that if we get the cash in from wherever, and if people start showing us that they will use the facilities that we've got, then we'll have the confidence to start looking at reopening. And that's what we're trying to do. There's no duplicity involved here. That's transparent. I've told you exactly why we've done it, and I've told you exactly why we should do it. And I've also told you that I think that there will eventually come a reckoning when there'll have to be a conversation with the help of Sports England and the help of the consultants to say what provisions should we have in future. And that's why we're spending 30 grand on it, because we need experts to look at it, to say to us, this is how they're doing it elsewhere. This is what they do. It worked. This is what you can do. You might, or these are the alternatives that you can have, because there will have to be a decision made at some point, which I suspect will mean that some of our provision will end up being cut back on. And we may do other things. We might do more outdoor things that are cheaper. I don't know. but I'm being absolutely transparent and open here. That is likely to be the direction that we're travelling in.
Just a final, sorry, Chair, if I could just have a final follow-up, just a final one, I'll be as brief as I can. So basically, I guess the point I'm getting at is, do you think it would be fair to say that based on the established facts of the finances that have been set out tonight, that while it's entirely understandable that many residents are upset about the temporary closures of Fleetwood and Poulton leisure centres, that this strategy, their temporary closure, this trial period that we're going through, that their temporary closure until March is actually gives them the best possible opportunity or chance to reopen in the long term?
I think that's fair comment. And going back to your original point, David, as well, if I may, I accept completely that there are more people, more bodies using Fleetwood Pool than there are Garstang Pool and Poulton Pool. That's obvious because it's a much bigger pool and more people do use it. So more people, as we found out to our cost, will be hacked off when they can't use it. So I get that, and I would like to reopen it as soon as we can, and we all would. But we still think that the Garstang trial is the best trial to go for to try and make that happen. And I know people won't like it.
Thank you, Councillor Vincent. Claire, would you like to come back on that comment earlier or reply?
Hi, I've just put some information in the chat, which I'm hoping kind of answers the question, but if I've missed anything, I've got my spreadsheets open, so I might be able to answer just in the meeting.
Thank you for that. I've just got a note that Rob wants to speak and Councillor Longton as well. May I ask that you limit it to one question and that question be on a new topic that we haven't pursued already? Councillor Longton first.
And thank you, Chair. My question was actually asked by somebody else already.
Thank you. Rob, I'd like everyone to say one final question that is a new question.
Yeah, it's about jobs. So there's sort of two questions, but I'll ask them both together. Were job losses at YMCA a consideration in the decision made? And do you know how many jobs have already been lost? How many jobs are expected to be lost by keeping our pools and leisure centres closed? So it's twofold, really. Were there a consideration in the decision made? And do you know how many jobs have already been lost and how many jobs are expected to be lost by keeping our pools and leisure centres closed?
We don't actually employ the people that work in the leisure centres, but obviously some of them have had to lose their jobs, and it's very sad. In fact, it's really worrying. But I don't know if Councillor Vincent can give you better figures than me, but I do know that there's a few that has had to lose the jobs.
I don't have the hard numbers. I think, Claire, we would have that accessible, I think.
No, we've had the figures. I'll just have a look and see if I can find the email. If you just bear with me, please. Thank you.
Can we come back to you, Rob, on that? And
so while waiting for that, so were there a consideration now, those job losses, in the decision that was made?
What, this decision, the decision that you've called in?
Yeah, the decision to open Garden, leave gym and pool shut, basically.
No, it wasn't a consideration that we took at the time that this decision was taken. No, it wasn't part of the process.
I think it sounds like it probably should have been. I just think we've the duty to deliver service to the residents of Wyre. How it chooses to deliver those services is down to the council. Currently, it chooses to use YMCA to deliver the pool and leisure centres, but Wyre sits on a joint board. So Wyre, at the moment, it appears to me we're sort of hiding behind a contract, sort of, and it doesn't, it doesn't.
I think we're all agreed that it's most concerning that people have to lose their jobs. However, that is not necessarily completely in keeping with the draft we have in front of us or the challenge in front of us about the decision. Have we any more questions from any other members? And I reiterate, new questions.